A sheik challenged Maid's daughter to chess. He regretted it quickly. Hello everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It's quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let's jump right into today's story. In a lavish palace perched on the outskirts of the city, Sheikh Khalid was known for his arrogance and his seemingly endless wealth. His opulent lifestyle was something the world admired, but few truly understood the heart of the man behind the fortune. Today, Sheikh Khalid was sitting in his grand dining room, a vast space adorned with crystal chandeliers and polished marble floors, waiting for a very unusual guest. The maid's daughter, Layla, was a quiet, humble girl, often overlooked by those in her world. She had grown up in the shadows of the palace, working for the sheikh's family, performing menial tasks without anyone ever noticing her. Layla's mother, Sarah, was the housekeeper, cleaning the sheikh's estate day after day, earning just enough to get by. But Layla had a secret, a skill she kept hidden from everyone, even from her mother. Layla was a chess prodigy. When the sheikh noticed her, sitting alone in a corner during a rare gathering of his wealthy associates, something about her intrigued him. Perhaps it was her calm demeanor or the way her eyes sparkled with intelligence. He could not shake the feeling that she was more than just the maid's daughter. As the conversation flowed around him, Sheikh Khalid leaned over and, with a smirk on his face, challenged the girl to a game of chess. "If you can beat me, I will give you a generous reward," he said, his tone dripping with condescension. Layla, though surprised by the offer, simply nodded. She had nothing to lose. She had seen enough of the sheikh's arrogance to know that this might be her only chance to prove something to him. The game began, and the moment she made her first move, the room fell silent. Layla's calm and calculated strategy immediately put the sheikh on edge. He had underestimated her, assuming that a young girl like her would be no match for his sharp mind. But with every move she made, Layla slowly but surely started to control the board, her pieces moving like well-oiled machinery. The sheikh, once so confident, began to falter. He could feel his pride slipping away with every piece he lost, but his ego refused to let him back down. The tension in the room grew as the game progressed. The sheikh's friends, watching from the sidelines, began to murmur among themselves. They had expected him to crush the girl, but now, it was clear, Layla was the one in control. Sheikh Khalid's face reddened as the realization hit him. He had made a grave mistake by underestimating the girl. His pride, once so unshakable, was crumbling in front of him. Layla, though quiet and composed, could feel the weight of the moment. With one final, strategic move, she checkmated him. The room was silent. Sheikh Khalid sat frozen in disbelief. He had been beaten by the maid's daughter, a girl he had barely noticed until now. His humiliation was palpable, and for the first time in years, he felt small. Layla simply stood there, her expression calm, knowing that she had won not just the game, but the respect of everyone in the room. Sheikh Khalid, his pride shattered, could only look at her with a mix of astonishment and regret. He had underestimated her, and in doing so, had learned a valuable lesson. Never judge someone by their appearance or their station in life. Layla's victory was a reminder to everyone that greatness can come from the most unexpected places. The silence in the room lingered for a moment, thick with disbelief. Sheikh Khalid sat frozen, staring at the chessboard, unable to comprehend what had just happened. Layla stood tall, her expression calm, as though this was just another day. The room, once filled with the chatter of the sheikh's powerful associates, was now deathly quiet. The weight of the moment was felt by everyone. The sheikh's pride had been shattered, but Layla's quiet dignity had earned her something far more valuable than a mere victory in a game of chess. It had earned her respect. The sheikh's friends, who had initially watched with amusement, now exchanged looks of astonishment. Some were too stunned to speak, while others, realizing the gravity of the situation, began to look at Layla with newfound admiration. She was no longer just the maid's daughter. She had proven herself to be something far greater. The sheikh's gaze remained fixed on the chessboard as if hoping that the pieces would somehow rearrange themselves and reverse the outcome. But deep down, he knew that was not going to happen. His ego had been bruised in front of everyone, and there was no turning back. Finally, with a heavy sigh, the Sheikh broke the silence. "You are a remarkable player," he said, his voice low and begrudging. His tone was no longer condescending, but rather laced with a mixture of disbelief and respect. Layla nodded silently. She had nothing to prove anymore. The game was over, and the Sheikh had learned a lesson that would stay with him forever. But the truth was, Layla was not just a remarkable chess player. She was an embodiment of everything he had never bothered to understand. She was smart, resourceful, and capable of more than anyone could have imagined, and yet she had been forced to live in the shadows of his world. In that moment, Layla's victory was not just over a game of chess, but over every stereotype, every assumption that had been made about her. Sheikh Khalid, once so certain of his superiority, now found himself questioning everything. For the first time, he realized that true greatness was not measured by wealth or power, but by the quiet strength of those who had been overlooked. The room slowly began to stir again as the Sheikh's guests, still processing the outcome, started to speak among themselves. Some were congratulating Layla. Others were still trying to wrap their heads around the fact that she had beaten the Sheikh at his own game. The Sheikh, however, did not move from his seat. His eyes were fixed on Layla, no longer with disdain, but with genuine curiosity. "You know," he began, after a long pause, "I never imagined I would be sitting here, having been beaten at chess by the daughter of my maid." Layla looked at him, her expression unchanged. "Everyone has their strengths," she replied softly. The Sheikh nodded slowly, a small smile tugging at the corner of his lips. It was a rare smile, one that acknowledged something deeper than just a win in a game. It was a smile that reflected a new understanding. Layla had made her mark in a way no one would forget. She had proven that the measure of a person is not found in their station in life, but in their mind, their character, and their heart. The guests began to disperse, but Layla remained in her place, still standing tall, as if this was just another day in the life of someone who had learned that no matter where you start, you could always rise above. And as the last of the guests left the room, the Sheikh sat quietly, his mind racing. He had not only been defeated on the chessboard, but he had also been given a glimpse of the world he had long ignored. Layla, the maid's daughter, had shown him something he would never forget. True greatness comes from within, not from status or wealth. As the days passed after the chess match, Layla's life began to change in ways she had never imagined. The Sheikh's defeat on the chessboard had left an indelible mark on him, and the more he thought about it, the more he realized how much he had underestimated the world outside his luxurious walls. He found himself thinking about Layla, the maid's daughter, more and more. One afternoon, Layla was summoned to the Sheikh's office. The invitation was unexpected, and she was unsure of what to expect. When she arrived, she was greeted by a servant who led her into a grand room, its walls adorned with rich tapestries and an ornate desk at the center. The Sheikh stood by the window, looking out over the vast estate. He turned as she entered, his face no longer wearing the smug expression from before. Instead, there was a hint of respect in his eyes. "Layla," he said, his voice calm, "I want to thank you." Layla was taken aback by his words. She had never heard the Sheikh speak to her like this before. She remained silent, unsure of how to respond. "You have taught me something valuable," he continued. "I have spent my life believing that wealth and status determine a person's worth. But after our game, I realize I was wrong. You have shown me that greatness is not about what you own or who you are, but what you can do with what you have." Layla stood there, surprised by his humility. She had never expected the Sheikh to admit such a thing. He walked over to his desk and opened a drawer, pulling out a small box. He handed it to her. "This is for you," he said. Layla opened the box, revealing a beautiful necklace made of gold and encrusted with precious stones. It was a gift fit for royalty, and she was unsure how to react. "I cannot accept this," Layla said quietly. "I did not play to win anything." The Sheikh smiled, a rare, genuine smile. "You did not play for a reward, but you earned it," he said. "This is a token of my respect for you, Layla." Layla hesitated for a moment, but then, with a small nod, she accepted the gift. She was still overwhelmed by the Sheikh's words and the turn of events. She had never expected this kind of recognition, especially from someone like him. The Sheikh's change of heart had not only affected his view of her, but also the way he saw the world. He had always been surrounded by wealth and power, but now, he saw something more important: the value of humility, wisdom, and the potential of those he had once overlooked. Over the next few weeks, Layla's life began to take unexpected turns. She was invited to more gatherings, where her insights and intelligence were respected. People who had once looked down on her now sought her advice. It was a surreal experience for her, one that she had never imagined would come from such an unlikely place. The Sheikh, on the other hand, found himself becoming more reflective. He realized that his life of luxury had isolated him from the real world, and now, thanks to Layla, he understood the importance of connection and respect for others, regardless of their status. One evening, as they sat together in the grand dining hall, the Sheikh turned to Layla. "You have changed my life, Layla," he said. "You have shown me that greatness is not about titles or riches. It is about the courage to be yourself, to stand tall, even when the world tells you to stay down." Layla smiled softly, grateful for the journey she had been on, though she never asked for it. In that moment, she realized that sometimes the greatest victories are not those we set out to achieve, but the ones we never expected. As weeks passed, Layla's world began to shift in ways she could hardly believe. The Sheikh's transformation had set in motion a chain of events that altered her life forever. No longer confined to the shadows of the grand estate, she was now being recognized for her brilliance and her character. It was a strange feeling, being seen not for her position, but for who she truly was. Invitations to prestigious events came pouring in, and the once overlooked Maid's daughter was now the center of attention. But Layla remained grounded, remembering the lessons of humility her mother had taught her. Despite the recognition, she never lost sight of her roots. Meanwhile, Sheikh Khalid's life had changed too. The man who once thought wealth and power were the only things that mattered now found himself questioning the true meaning of success. The luxury that surrounded him seemed to pale in comparison to the lessons Layla had taught him. He often found himself reflecting on the kindness and wisdom she had shown him, and he began to seek more genuine connections with people beyond the superficial world he had once known. One afternoon, after a particularly grand event where Layla had once again amazed everyone with her intellect and grace, the Sheikh invited her to a private meeting. He wanted to thank her for everything she had taught him. "Layla," he said as they sat in his study, the opulent room filled with the scent of fine leather and rich wood. "I've spent my life surrounded by wealth and power, but I've never truly understood what it means to live a meaningful life. You've opened my eyes to something I never knew existed." Layla listened in silence, unsure of how to respond. It wasn't often that the Sheikh expressed such vulnerability. "I want to do something for you," he continued. "Something to show you my appreciation for everything you've done, not just for me, but for everyone around you." Layla was taken aback. She had never expected the Sheikh to offer her anything. "You've already given me more than I could ever ask for," she said softly. "Your kindness and your respect mean more to me than anything you could give me in material form." The Sheikh smiled, a sincere and warm smile that had been rare in his earlier years. "I know," he said, "but I also know that there's something you've always wanted, a chance to pursue your dreams without limits. I want to help you do that. Consider this my way of giving back to you." He handed her an envelope. Layla opened it to find a scholarship offer from one of the world's most prestigious universities. It was an opportunity to study whatever she chose, without the financial burden she had always known. Her heart raced as she read the words. This was the chance she had never dared to dream of. The Sheikh had given her more than just a gift. He had given her the freedom to create her own future. "I don't know what to say," she whispered, overwhelmed. "Say nothing," the Sheikh replied. "Just go. Achieve everything you've always wanted. You've earned it." Layla stood up, the weight of the moment sinking in. She had come so far, from being a quiet maid's daughter to being given the opportunity to change the course of her life. But as she looked at the Sheikh, she realized that her true victory was not in the scholarship or the recognition. It was in the realization that she had the power to create her own destiny, regardless of where she started. With newfound determination, Layla knew that this was just the beginning. The future was hers to shape, and she was no longer just the maid's daughter. She was Layla, a young woman with a future full of possibilities. And nothing, not even the grandest palace or the richest sheikh, could take that away from her. As Layla packed her things to leave the Sheikh's estate, she felt a mixture of emotions swirling within her. It was hard to believe that just months ago, she had been a nameless face in the shadows, invisible to those around her. Now, she was holding a scholarship to one of the most prestigious universities in the world. The weight of her new life ahead of her was both exciting and overwhelming. The Sheikh had kept his word. The opportunity to follow her dreams was now within reach. As she stepped out of the grand palace for the last time, the memories of her life in the shadows remained with her, but they no longer defined her. She had been given a chance to rewrite her story, to create a future that was her own. The road ahead was uncertain, but Layla felt a deep sense of purpose. She knew she had the power to succeed, not because of her wealth or status, but because of her abilities and her determination. The scholarship was just the beginning. She had big dreams to pursue, and nothing was going to stand in her way. The day she left the Sheikh's estate, she made a promise to herself. No matter where she went, no matter how high she climbed, she would never forget the lessons she had learned from the Sheikh and from her mother. Humility, respect, and the courage to stay true to oneself. These were the things that mattered most. She knew that the world would try to label her, try to make her conform to expectations, but Layla was ready to rise above it all. As she made her way to the university, Layla reflected on her journey. She thought about the day the Sheikh had challenged her to that game of chess, the moment when everything had changed. If she had never taken that challenge, if she had never stepped forward and played, she would still be living in the shadows, unnoticed, her potential hidden away. But now, her future was wide open. She had taken control of her destiny. At university, Layla thrived. Her intellect shone brighter than she could have ever imagined. Professors sought her out for advice. Classmates admired her wisdom, and Layla felt a sense of belonging she had never known before. She worked hard, her focus sharper than ever, determined to make the most of every opportunity she had been given. As the years passed, Layla earned accolades for her work, her passion for knowledge and her brilliance in solving complex problems becoming her signature. Yet, despite all her success, she remained grounded. She never let her accomplishments define her. Instead, she focused on how she could use her talents to make a positive impact on the world. Layla's story became an inspiration to many. She had risen from the most humble of beginnings to achieve greatness, but she never forgot where she came from. She knew that true success was not measured by wealth or titles, but by the difference you made in the lives of others. As she graduated with honors, Layla stood before the audience, a young woman who had achieved everything she had dreamed of and more. The Sheikh, now a friend, was there in the audience, watching with pride. He had seen her journey from the very beginning, and he could not be prouder of what she had accomplished. Layla knew that the road ahead would still be filled with challenges, but she was ready. She had proven that no matter where you start, you can always rise above. And as she looked ahead, she knew that she would continue to inspire others, just as she had been inspired by those who saw her for who she truly was and not just for where she came from. Years passed, and Layla's life continued to unfold in ways she had never imagined. After graduating with honors, she began to make her mark in the world of business and technology. She was invited to conferences, given opportunities to speak at forums, and soon became a leading voice in her field. But even with all her success, she never forgot where it all began. She still remembered the quiet moments with her mother, the lessons she had learned from the Sheikh, and the game of chess that had changed everything. One day, as she was preparing for a new project, Layla received an unexpected message. It was from Sheikh Khalid. He wanted to meet her, and though she had seen him from time to time at events, this was a personal invitation. Curious and a little apprehensive, Layla agreed. When she arrived at his estate, she was surprised to see how much had changed. The once grand palace now had a more humble feel to it. The Sheikh greeted her with a warm smile and invited her into his study. "Layla," he began, his voice filled with sincerity, "I have been following your work for years now. You have achieved so much, and I am incredibly proud of you." Layla smiled, grateful for his kind words, but she could tell there was something more. "Thank you, Sheikh Khalid," she said. "It has been a long journey, but I couldn't have done it without the lessons I learned from you." The Sheikh nodded. "And that is exactly why I wanted to speak with you today. I have realized that the things I used to value, wealth, power, and status, are not the things that matter most. What truly matters is using the resources we have to help others, to make a difference in the world. Layla listened intently, sensing that this was more than just a conversation about gratitude. I want to give back, the Sheikh continued. I have decided to invest in a foundation that will support young people from disadvantaged backgrounds, just as you were once. Layla's eyes widened in surprise. She had never expected this. But I don't have the resources you do, she said softly. You don't need to, the Sheikh replied with a knowing smile. You have already proven that you have everything it takes to make a difference. I want you to help me lead this foundation, to inspire others the way you have inspired me. I want us to create a legacy of change, one that will impact generations to come. Layla felt a surge of emotions flood through her. She had come so far, from a girl who had once been invisible, to now being offered a chance to lead something much bigger than herself. She had never imagined she would find herself in this position. I don't know what to say, she whispered, overwhelmed by the enormity of the opportunity. Say yes, the Sheikh said with a gentle smile. This is your moment. Layla took a deep breath, and for the first time, she felt completely certain about her path. Yes, she said, her voice steady. I will help lead the foundation. Together, we will make a difference. From that day on, Layla and Sheikh Khalid worked side by side, creating a foundation that helped thousands of young people realize their potential. They provided scholarships, mentorship programs, and resources to those who needed it most. Layla had always believed in the power of education, and now she was able to use her knowledge and experience to open doors for others. She was no longer just a girl from the shadows. She had become a beacon of hope for others, proving that greatness could come from anywhere. As the years went by, Layla's foundation grew, touching lives across the country. She was invited to speak at international summits, and her story became an inspiration to millions. But through it all, she remained humble. She never lost sight of the lessons she had learned along the way. In her heart, she knew that the true measure of success was not in how many lives she touched, but in how deeply she had impacted them. She had come from nothing, but now, Layla was everything she had ever dreamed of, and so much more. Years went by, and Layla's foundation grew into something even more powerful than she had imagined. It was now a beacon of hope, not only for young people from disadvantaged backgrounds, but also for those who had given up on their dreams. The scholarships, mentorship programs, and resources provided by the foundation were changing lives, and Layla was at the heart of it all. She had become a leading advocate for education, believing that everyone deserved the opportunity to reach their full potential, no matter where they came from. Yet, despite her growing success, Layla never lost sight of the values that had shaped her journey. She remained humble, always reminding herself that her success was not about her, but about the lives she was touching. She took great joy in seeing the young people she mentored rise above their circumstances, just as she had. But as Layla stood at the pinnacle of her career, a question lingered in her mind. Was there more she could do? Could her foundation reach even further? She had come so far, and yet she knew that the world was still full of untapped potential, waiting to be unlocked. One afternoon, as she sat in her office, she received a call that would change the course of her life once again. It was from a prominent government official, someone she had met years ago at a charity gala. They were reaching out to her with an exciting opportunity. The official had seen the impact Layla's foundation had made and wanted to collaborate on a national initiative aimed at providing education to underprivileged youth across the country. This was the opportunity Layla had been waiting for, an opportunity to make an even bigger impact, to expand her work beyond the local level and into communities nationwide. The offer was both thrilling and daunting. It would require a level of commitment she had never considered before. But Layla knew deep down that this was the next step in her journey. She had always believed that education could change the world, and now she had the chance to make that belief a reality on a much larger scale. After much consideration, Layla accepted the offer. She and her team worked tirelessly to create a national program that would provide scholarships, training, and mentorship to thousands of young people across the country. The initiative quickly gained momentum, and soon, communities from coast to coast were benefiting from the resources that had once seemed out of reach. As the program grew, Layla found herself traveling across the United States, meeting with students, educators, and community leaders who were all eager to be a part of the movement. Everywhere she went, she saw the same thing. Young people who were hungry for a chance to prove themselves, to break free from the limitations that had been imposed on them. Layla felt a deep sense of fulfillment as she witnessed the transformation in these young lives. She knew that the work she was doing was not just about providing an education. It was about giving people the power to change their own futures. One day, while visiting a small town in the Midwest, Layla met a young girl named Emily. Emily's story resonated deeply with Layla. Emily came from a family that struggled to make ends meet, but her passion for learning was undeniable. She had dreamed of becoming a scientist, but the lack of resources and support in her town made that dream seem impossible. But Emily had applied for one of the scholarships offered through Layla's national initiative and had been accepted. She was now attending a top university, pursuing her dream of studying science. Emily's eyes shone with gratitude as she told Layla about how the scholarship had changed her life. "I never thought this was possible for someone like me," Emily said, her voice full of emotion. "But you believed in me. You gave me the chance to prove myself." Layla smiled, her heart swelling with pride. "No, Emily," she replied. "You believed in yourself. I just helped you see what was possible." As Layla watched Emily walk away, she realized that this was why she had started it all, to help young people like Emily see their own potential. She had come from humble beginnings, but she had created something that would live on long after she was gone. Layla's journey was not just about one woman's success. It was about creating a ripple effect, inspiring others to believe in themselves and pursue their dreams, no matter where they started. And as she stood there, watching Emily's future unfold, Layla knew she had achieved something far greater than personal success. She had created a legacy that would change the world, one life at a time. As the national initiative continued to grow, Layla found herself in a position she had never expected, leading a movement that was changing the face of education across the United States. But with success came new challenges. The more she worked to expand the foundation, the more she realized how much was still left to be done. There were still so many young people who had not yet had the opportunity to change their lives. Layla was constantly working with policymakers, educators, and corporate partners to secure more funding, more opportunities, and more support for the next generation. But even as she navigated the complexities of running a national initiative, she never lost sight of the people she was working for, those young dreamers who were still looking for their big break. One day, as Layla was preparing for a major summit with top leaders in the field of education, she received an unexpected call. It was from her mother, Sarah. "Layla, I have something to tell you," Sarah said, her voice trembling. "Your old town is facing a crisis. The school district is being shut down, and the kids there won't have access to education anymore. I know you have the power to help. Please, Layla, do something." Layla felt a lump form in her throat. This was her hometown, the place where she had grown up, where she had learned the value of hard work and perseverance. The thought of the children in her community losing their chance at an education was unbearable. "Mom," Layla said, trying to stay calm, "I'll fix this. Just give me the details, and I'll make sure they get the resources they need." Layla immediately sprang into action. She reached out to her contacts, gathered her team, and began working tirelessly to ensure that the children in her hometown would not be left behind. She knew this was personal. This was her chance to give back to the community that had shaped her, that had supported her when she had nothing. After weeks of planning, Layla and her foundation managed to secure a partnership with local businesses, community leaders, and national organizations to keep the school district open. They provided scholarships, resources, and mentorship programs to ensure that every student, regardless of their background, had access to a quality education. When the news broke that the school district had been saved, Layla was flooded with messages of thanks and gratitude. The students and families in her hometown were overjoyed. Layla knew that this was one of the most important accomplishments of her life. She had not only helped countless young people across the country, but she had also ensured that her own community would thrive. As she visited the school, seeing the smiles of the children who were now able to continue their education, Layla realized something profound. She had spent so much of her life thinking about how she could change the world, but in that moment, she understood that changing the world began with changing one life at a time. Her foundation had reached so many, but her work in her hometown reminded her that every effort mattered. Every child who gained access to education, every young person who found hope, every community that was uplifted. It all mattered. Layla's journey had come full circle. She had risen from a humble maid's daughter to a leader who had changed the lives of thousands. But what mattered most to her was not the recognition or the accolades. It was the knowledge that she had made a real difference in the lives of people who had once been overlooked, just as she had been. And as Layla looked out over the schoolyard, watching the children run and laugh, she knew that her work was far from over. The future was still full of possibilities, and she was ready to continue making a difference, one life, one community, and one opportunity at a time. As Layla's foundation continued to expand, her work took on a life of its own. She had created a movement that was not just about providing education, but about offering hope and opportunity to countless young people. The scholarship programs, mentorship opportunities, and community projects were growing stronger with each passing year. But despite all the success, Layla never lost sight of the very reason she started this journey: to make a difference in the lives of those who needed it most. One day, as Layla walked through the halls of a new school that had just opened in an underserved community, she was approached by a young girl named Maya. Maya was around 14, with an intense look of determination in her eyes. She was one of the first students to be part of the Foundation's mentorship program. "Ms. Layla," Maya said hesitantly, "I just wanted to thank you." Layla smiled warmly, kneeling down to her level. "Thank you for what, Maya?" Maya's voice was quiet, but full of emotion. "For believing in me. For giving me the chance to be something. I used to think my life was already decided for me. But now I know I can do more. I can go further." Layla felt a lump form in her throat. In that moment, she realized that the ripple effect of her work had reached someone like Maya, someone whose life had been transformed by a single opportunity. Maya was just one of many stories, but she was the embodiment of everything Layla had worked for. The future Layla had once dreamed of creating was now unfolding before her eyes. Later that evening, as Layla sat in her office reflecting on her journey, she thought about the challenges she had faced, the obstacles she had overcome, and the people who had helped her along the way. She remembered the Sheikh's challenge to her years ago, the game of chess that had started it all. She had won that game. But more importantly, she had gained something much greater: the confidence to take control of her own destiny. As she sat in her office, Layla reflected on how far she had come. The maid's daughter who had once lived in the shadows was now a leader, an advocate, and a changemaker. She had built a legacy that was not just about personal success, but about helping others rise above their circumstances. And as the years went by, Layla continued to mentor young minds, teaching them the same values that had propelled her to greatness: hard work, perseverance, and most of all, the belief that anyone could achieve their dreams. One day, while attending a global conference on education, Layla was invited to speak about her journey. She stood on stage, looking out at an audience full of people from all walks of life: educators, philanthropists, and policymakers. As she spoke, she could see the same spark in the eyes of the audience that she had once seen in her own reflection. Layla's story was no longer just about her personal success. It had become a symbol of what was possible when people believed in the power of education, of opportunity, and of change. "I started with nothing but a dream," Layla said into the microphone. "And through hard work, resilience, and the support of others, that dream became a reality. But the truth is, my story is not unique. Every person in this room has the power to change lives. It's about seeing potential, offering opportunities, and never underestimating the value of a single person." The room erupted into applause, and as Layla stood there, she realized that her journey had come full circle. She had given everything she had to help others rise, and in doing so, she had created a movement that would live on for generations. She had proven that no matter where you start, no matter the obstacles in your path, you have the power to change the world. And as she walked off the stage, Layla knew that her work was far from over. The world was full of untapped potential, and she would continue to be a part of unlocking it, one life at a time. In this powerful and inspiring tale of transformation, a young girl's journey from being a maid's daughter to a successful leader shows that anything is possible. This is one of the most remarkable millionaire stories, where humble beginnings meet unyielding determination and a deep belief in the power of education. As the story unfolds, We follow the protagonist as she rises above every challenge and proves that greatness isn't defined by wealth or status, but by the impact one can have on the world. From a chance encounter with a billionaire that changes her life, to the foundation she builds to help countless young people, this story encapsulates the true essence of what it means to overcome adversity. It's a reminder that in the world of millionaire stories, success is never about the money, but about creating lasting change. The protagonist's journey is full of powerful lessons that are sure to inspire anyone looking to make their dreams a reality, proving that with the right support, anyone can achieve greatness. This millionaire story is a testament to how education and determination can shape a future that once seemed impossible. Layla's story goes beyond personal achievement. It's about lifting others up and ensuring that the next generation has access to the opportunities they deserve. Through her tireless work and commitment to helping others, Layla's story has become one of the most remarkable millionaire stories of our time. Her dedication and passion for creating change make her a true inspiration. As Layla reflects on her journey, she realizes that this is only the beginning. Her mission to help others achieve their full potential continues, and the impact of her work will be felt for generations to come. This is more than just a tale of one person's rise to success. This is a powerful chapter in the world of millionaire stories, where lives are transformed and futures are rewritten.